Imagine taking the most aggressive, instinctive, razor-sharp driver on the Formula One grid and then giving him a car that's lighter, twitchier, more unstable and more demanding than anything we've seen in years. For most drivers, that sounds like a nightmare. For Max Verstappen, it might be the ultimate advantage. Because while fans argue about horsepower, downforce and engine suppliers, there's a quiet revolution coming in 2026 that very few people are talking about properly: weight reduction. And when Formula One gets lighter, faster to rotate and harder to control, history tells us one thing very clearly: Max Verstappen thrives. But here's the real question: why do lighter cars favour Max more than almost anyone else on the grid? And why could this regulation change exposed drivers who've been protected by stability, grip and predictable behaviour for years? Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll understand why the 2026 reset might not level the playing field at all. It might tilt it. Now think back for a moment. When Formula One introduced the current ground effect era in 2022, the cars became heavier, more stable and more forgiving in high-speed corners. Minimum weight jumped to around 798 kilograms, making these the heaviest F1 cars in history. Many drivers welcomed that. The cars felt planted, predictable, safe. Max Verstappen? He adapted instantly, but he didn't love it, because Max's driving DNA was never built around heavy, stable cars. It was built in karts, Formula 3 and early F1 machinery where weight transfer mattered, rear grip was fragile and mistakes punished you instantly. That background matters more than most people realise. Now fast forward to 2026. According to the FIA's confirmed technical roadmap, the 2026 cars will be significantly lighter, with targets pointing toward a reduction of roughly 25 to 30 kilograms compared to current machinery. That doesn't sound massive on paper, but in Formula One that's enormous. That's faster acceleration, sharper direction change, shorter braking distances, and far more sensitive behaviour at corner entry and exit. In other words, less forgiveness. And that's where the separation begins. Lighter cars amplify driver input. Every steering correction matters more. Every throttle application has consequences. Weight transfer becomes aggressive again, and with it comes instability. The rear moves more, the front responds faster, the margin between control and chaos shrinks. For many drivers, this is exactly what they don't want. But Max Verstappen has built an entire career on living inside that margin. If you've watched Max closely over the years, you'll notice something unusual. He doesn't wait for the car to be stable before committing. He commits first and then balances the car on the throttle, on the brake, on instinct. That's not a trait taught easily. It's learned through years of driving machinery that doesn't save you when you get it wrong. And that brings us to a key truth most fans misunderstand. Max Verstappen doesn't avoid instability. He uses it. When a car is lighter, rotation happens faster. The rear unloads quicker under braking. The front bites harder on turn-in. Many drivers instinctively back off when that happens because the car feels nervous. Max does the opposite. He leans into it. This is why, historically, Max has been at his most dangerous in cars that others describe as difficult. Engineers have openly said he prefers a pointy front end and accepts rear movement if it gives him rotation. In a lighter 2026 car, that trait becomes even more valuable because rotation is no longer guaranteed by downforce alone. It must be created by the driver. Here's where things get uncomfortable for some of his rivals. Drivers who rely on ultra-stable platforms, predictable grip and gentle weight transfer may suddenly find themselves exposed. Lighter cars demand constant micro-corrections, especially in low grip conditions, slow corners and transitional phases. And Max, that's where he's most alive. Let me put it this way. Some drivers drive the car they're given. Max drives the car he creates in real time. Now, quick pause. If you're still watching this breakdown, congratulations, you officially have better race IQ than half of Twitter. Go ahead and hit subscribe now because unlike some team strategies, this channel actually improves over time. And yes, drop a like too. It helps more than an undercut at Monaco. Now let's connect weight reduction to another massive 2026 change: energy management. With lighter cars and new power units, drivers will be required to manage energy deployment far more aggressively. Less mass means acceleration happens quicker, but it also means wheel spin is easier to trigger. That's a nightmare for drivers with blunt throttle application. Max Verstappen's throttle control is one of the most refined on the grid. He doesn't smash the pedal, he rolls into it, feeling for grip millisecond by millisecond. In lighter cars where traction limits arrive earlier, that skill becomes decisive. This is where many fans get it wrong. They assume lighter cars automatically mean easier to drive. In reality, it's the opposite. The car responds faster than your brain can process, unless you're trained to feel it instinctively. Max is. And this isn't speculation. Look at his performance in low-fuel qualifying runs versus heavy-fuel race stints, when the car is lighter, whether due to fuel burn-off or setup. Max often finds lap time others can't. That pattern isn't accidental, it's foundational. Now let's add another layer: braking. Lighter cars brake later, but they also become more sensitive to lockups, especially with reduced load on the tyres. Drivers who rely on ABS-like stability, which by the way doesn't exist in F1, struggle when braking windows shrink. Max thrives here. He brakes aggressively but progressively, releasing pressure as weight transfers forward. That skill becomes even more important in lighter machinery, where abrupt braking causes instant instability. This is why engineers often describe Max's inputs as decisive but measured. He's not gentle, he's precise, and precision scales with lighter cars. Now here's the cliffhanger moment you need to consider. What happens when everyone gets a lighter car, but only one driver is comfortable when it moves underneath him? That's not equality, that's exposure. And this is where 2026 could quietly reshuffle the grid hierarchy. Drivers who've been shielded by heavy cars, high downforce, and predictable aero platforms may suddenly feel like the car is fighting them. Meanwhile, Max will feel like the car is finally speaking his language again. Before we go deeper, let me ask you something. Drop it in the comments because I genuinely want your take. Do you think lighter cars will make F1 racing better or more dangerous? And who do you think benefits the most from that change? Now let's zoom out. The FIA's motivation for weight reduction isn't just performance. It's about efficiency, sustainability, and making the cars more agile. But agility doesn't come free, it demands skill, and skill is where Verstappen separates himself. In past eras, think early 2000s, late 2000s, lighter cars rewarded drivers who could dance the car through corners rather than lean on aero. Those eras produced drivers who controlled slides, not avoided them. Max belongs to that lineage. And here's the part rivals won't like hearing: Max Verstappen is still improving. While others are comfortable with current cars, Max is already preparing for the next evolution. He spends enormous time refining simulator work, understanding vehicle behavior under changing load conditions, and training his reflexes for instability. Not stability. That's not coincidence. That's preparation. And when 2026 arrives, many drivers will be learning how to survive in lighter cars. Max will be learning how to exploit them. Now, quick reset. If you've ever yelled, "How did he save that?" watching Max on board, congratulations, you already understand half of this video. Smash the like button if that's happened to you at least once. As we approach the end, here's the truth most fans aren't ready for. The 2026 weight reduction isn't just a technical change, it's a driver filter. It will separate those who rely on the car from those who command it. And Max Verstappen has built his entire career on command. So when you hear people say the 2026 reset will level the field, remember this: resets don't erase skill, they reveal it. And if history, data, and driving theory are anything to go by, lighter cars don't slow Max Verstappen down. They set him free. If you want to understand how Max's driving style interacts with another massive 2026 change, the power unit revolution, I've got a video waiting for you on screen right now that breaks it all down. Watch that next because it connects directly to everything you just learned. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tell me in the comments whether you think 2026 will create a new champion or simply sharpen the one we already have. I'll see you in the next one.